All right, so we are driving deep today into some fascinating stuff. It's all about emotional and mental healing.
Ooh, that's always a good one.
We've got a talk by Brent from How to Heal Emotional Pain.
Okay.
And we are really going to get into it today.
Yeah.
Not just like, surface level stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to get into like the real nitty gritty, like what actually creates lasting change beyond just, think positive.
I love that. Yeah, he definitely goes there. He goes way beyond those platitudes and really digs into like the core mechanisms of how this stuff actually works.
So let's start maybe with this idea that like our emotional and mental selves, like they're naturally wired to heal.
Right.
He compares it to the physical body.
Right.
Like, if you get a cut, it heals. If you have a cold, your body fights it off. It just kind of happens.
Exactly.
You don't have to think about it. It just kind of does its thing.
Totally. He uses this term homeostasis of healing, which, might sound a little complicated, but it's a really elegant concept. It just means that just like your body naturally seeks balance and equilibrium, your mind and your emotions do the same.
Okay.
They're always trying to get back to a healthy state. They're always trying to move towards wholeness.
That's a really interesting way to think about it. So if our emotional and mental selves, they're always striving for this balance.
Yeah.
Why do we still struggle so much?
Well, that's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Brent argues that we often get in our own way. He says that our own beliefs and mental stances can actually become roadblocks to this natural healing process.
Oh, okay. So it's like we're putting up these walls
that
prevent those emotions from like doing their thing.
Exactly. And he gives a really common example that I think a lot of us can relate to, which is this belief that we have to earn love and respect.
Oh, yeah.
That we're not inherently worthy of it.
Oh, I've been there. Yeah.
Big time.
Like this constant need for external validation,
Yes.
trying to prove ourselves.
Ugh, it's exhausting. Yeah, and it keeps us, keeps us from recognizing that inherent worth that's already there.
So how do we even start to address these like really deep beliefs? Like sometimes it's hard to even admit them to ourselves.
Right.
Totally.
And that's where this idea of radical honesty comes in.
Okay.
He really emphasizes that this is the first crucial step in the healing process. We have to shine a light on these beliefs, even the ones we don't like, and acknowledge them without judgment.
Ooh, I'm sensing this is where it gets a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But also where the growth happens.
Totally.
So what does that actually look like?
Yeah, well, for one thing, it's not about beating ourselves up for having these beliefs.
Okay.
Right? It's not about like, oh, I'm so messed up for thinking this way. This is a process of self-discovery, not self-judgment. It's about approaching ourselves with a sense of curiosity and compassion.
So instead of, I shouldn't feel this way.
Right.
It's more like, okay, this is what I'm believing right now.
Yeah.
Like, let's explore that.
Exactly. It's about bringing in a gentle, non-judgmental awareness to our inner experience.
I like that.
And this is actually the first step in what Brent calls his two-step healing process. Okay. He calls it correcting the mental position.
All right, so correcting the mental position, that means identifying those beliefs. But how do we actually change them? Because it's not like we can just flip a switch, right?
Right. Well, that's where it gets even more interesting.
Okay.
He says that this first step, correcting the mental position, it's not a gradual process.
Okay.
It's a 0 to 1 shift.
Right.
It's like learning a fact. Once you know that the capital of France is Paris, you don't slowly unlearn the wrong answer.
Right.
The shift happens instantly.
Hold on. So you're saying that once we actually see a belief as false, it's just gone?
That's what he suggests. Like, poof.
Yeah, and it makes sense when you think about it.
Yeah.
If a belief is based on a false premise, once we see the truth, the belief simply dissolves. It no longer has power over us.
I'm trying to wrap my head around that.
Yeah.
Sounds almost too simple.
Right.
But maybe we overcomplicate things.
I think that's a great point.
When it comes to personal growth.
We often try to fight our way out of our emotional patterns.
Yeah.
But what if the answer is to simply step back and observe them with a different perspective?
Okay, so this 0 to 1 shift, that's the first step. What happens after that? Like, how do we actually heal the emotional pain that these beliefs have caused?
That's the second step, emotional healing.
Okay.
And this is where the magic happens. Once we've corrected the mental position, once that mental block is gone, our emotions can naturally process and reintegrate.
It's like that dam analogy, right?
Yeah.
Once the dam is removed, the water can flow freely again.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a really great way to think about it. Like if when we're holding on to a false belief, it's almost like we're like constricting that natural flow of our emotions.
Yeah.
But once that belief is seen through, it's like releasing a pressure valve.
Yeah.
The emotions can finally move and process in a healthy way. Okay, I'm starting to get the picture here.
Huh.
But like, isn't it a little naive to think that we can just like let go of these beliefs and then everything's just magically going to fall into place?
Right.
What about like all the baggage?
Yeah, yeah. And he acknowledges that it's not always easy. Even after we've made that mental shift, we might still experience what he calls echoes of the old patterns.
Echoes, like those old thoughts and feelings keep coming back, even though you're like, no, I know that's not true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is where I think a lot of people get discouraged. You know, they're like, oh, I must be doing something wrong. I haven't really healed.
Right.
But he reassures us that these echoes are completely normal. They're just part of the integration process.
So it's like our mind is catching up to this new way of thinking.
Yeah,
It's like learning to ride a bike.
totally.
You might wobble a little bit at first, but eventually you find your balance.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
I think it's a great way to highlight the importance of patience and self-compassion in this process.
Yeah.
You know, we're not going to get everything perfect right away.
Mhm.
There will be times when those old patterns resurface. And that's okay.
So how do we deal with those echoes when they come up? Do we just try to ignore them? Do we push them away? Like, what do we do?
He suggests a different approach. He says that instead of fighting with these echoes, we can simply observe them with a sense of loving awareness. Remember that idea of like bringing in a gentle, non-judgmental presence to our experience?
Yeah.
We can apply that here as well.
So it's like acknowledging them without getting like totally caught up in them.
Exactly.
Sort of letting them be.
Like watching clouds drift by. We don't try to control them, we just observe their movement.
I like that.
And in that observation, in that willingness to simply be with our experience, transformation occurs organically.
Yeah.
We're not forcing anything, we're just creating space for healing to happen naturally.
You know, it's interesting when you put it that way. It's almost like there's nothing to be afraid of in our emotional experience, which is kind of a radical idea when you think about how much we fear uncomfortable emotions.
Yeah, that's actually one of the most powerful points that he makes in his talk.
Yeah.
He says, and I'm paraphrasing here, there's nothing in your emotional experience to be truly afraid of.
Whoa. I mean, that is a powerful statement.
Right.
And I think it ties back to what we were talking about earlier, like that idea
Yeah.
of our emotions, like always seeking balance.
Yeah.
If we can trust that they're ultimately working for us, not against us,
Yeah.
maybe we can start to let go of some of that fear.
Yeah. That's a great insight. And he actually offers a mantra to help us remember this.
Oh, okay.
He says, all energy is just energy. All emotion is just emotion. All experience is just experience.
I love that. It's like a reminder that we don't have to get so caught up in the stories we tell ourselves about our emotions.
Right.
We can just allow them to be what they are, like
Yeah.
energy moving through us.
And that brings us to another really important aspect of healing that he emphasizes: humor.
Humor. I wouldn't have thought that would be like a key ingredient.
Yeah.
In emotional healing, tell me more about that.
Well, he encourages us to reclaim our sense of humor, to not take ourselves too seriously in this process. You
Mhm.
know, he says that laughter can be incredibly healing.
But isn't there a risk of like dismissing genuine pain if we try to just like laugh it off?
That's a really valid concern. And he clarifies that he's not suggesting we should invalidate or suppress difficult emotions.
Okay.
It's not about pretending everything's fine.
Right.
It's about finding moments of lightness and levity, even amidst the challenges.
So it's more about like approaching the healing journey with a sense of playfulness and perspective.
Yeah.
Maybe even laughing at our own foibles and recognizing that, you know, we're all just perfectly imperfect humans just trying to figure things out.
Exactly. And there's a real power in being able to laugh at ourselves.
Mhm.
It helps us to detach from the intensity of our emotions and see things from a wider lens.
Yeah.
You know, when we can laugh at our struggles, they often lose their grip on us.
I can see how that would be really liberating. It's like taking ourselves a little less seriously
Right.
and recognizing that we don't have to have it all figured out.
Exactly. And that leads us to another really interesting point that he brings up. He talks about the collective inheritance of pain that we all carry.
What does he mean by that?
Well, he's talking about the generations of unprocessed trauma and pain that have been passed down through families, communities, even entire societies. It's like we're all carrying this invisible weight from the past.
That's a heavy thought.
Right.
So how does this connect to our own like individual healing journeys?
Well, he suggests that as we heal ourselves, we're not only breaking free from those patterns within us, but we're also contributing to a larger wave of healing in the world.
So it's like our individual healing is like rippling outward and creating positive change on a much larger scale.
Exactly. It's a powerful idea, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're not just isolated individuals trying to fix ourselves. We're all interconnected, and our healing journeys are part of a larger tapestry of human experience.
This idea of like collective healing is really resonating with me.
Yeah.
But I gotta admit, it also feels a little daunting.
Yeah.
Like, where do we even begin to address such a vast and complex issue?
That's where he reminds us to be patient and compassionate with ourselves.
Yeah.
To appreciate ourselves for even embarking on this journey, for having the courage to look inward and confront our emotional patterns.
So it's about recognizing that we're not alone in this,
Mm-hmm.
and that even small steps forward can have a ripple effect.
Absolutely.
It's about celebrating our own progress,
Wow.
no matter how small it might seem.
And he also highlights the importance of recognizing that our worthiness is not dependent on our progress in this journey.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah. We are inherently worthy, regardless of where we are on the path.
I think that's so easy to forget.
Right.
It's so easy to get caught up in the self-judgment.
Totally.
Like, I'm not doing it right. I'm not healing fast enough.
He invites us to drop the self-criticism and simply allow ourselves to be exactly as we are in this moment.
It's like giving ourselves permission to just be human
Exactly.
with all our flaws and imperfections.
And in that space of radical acceptance where we let go of the need to fix ourselves,
Yeah.
we create the fertile ground for true transformation.
You know what strikes me about his approach is that it's both empowering and compassionate.
Hmm?
He's not offering like quick fixes or easy answers.
Right.
But he's also reminding us that we have everything we need within us to heal and thrive.
I agree. He's acknowledging the complexity of the healing journey while also offering a roadmap and a set of tools that we can use to navigate it with greater clarity and purpose.
And he's reminding us that we don't have to go it alone.
Yeah.
We have each other, this community of deep divers,
Yeah.
all exploring this terrain together.
That's right. We're all in this together, supporting each other, learning from each other, and creating a world where emotional well-being is not just a goal, but a way of life.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. What's resonating with you most about his message?
For me, I think what really stood out was that emphasis on humor.
Oh, yeah.
It's not something we typically associate with emotional healing,
Right.
but it makes so much sense. It's like a powerful reminder that healing doesn't have to be this like heavy, serious process.
Yeah.
In fact, embracing humor can be like a key part of that lightness and acceptance that we've been talking about.
It's like giving ourselves permission to not take everything so seriously.
Right.
To find those moments of joy and playfulness,
Yeah.
even amidst the challenges.
And remember his point about those echoes?
Yeah.
Those old patterns that might resurface even after we've had that mental shift?
Mm-hmm.
Humor can be such a great tool for navigating those moments. Instead of getting like frustrated or discouraged,
Yeah.
we can choose to meet those echoes with a sense of lightness
Mm.
and even a little laughter.
Yeah. That's a really helpful way to reframe it.
Yeah.
Because, it can be so frustrating
Right.
when those echoes pop up. You're like, ugh. Ugh.
Totally.
But if you can approach them with a little bit of humor,
Yeah.
it takes away some of their power.
Absolutely.
You're like, oh, again, I see you,
Right.
but I'm not going to let you like drag me down this
Yeah,
time.
exactly. It's about shifting our perspective.
Yeah.
And that's really what his whole talk is about.
Mm.
It's recognizing that we have a choice in how we respond to our emotional experiences. We can get caught up in the drama,
Yeah.
or we can meet it with awareness, compassion, and even a little bit of humor.
So for our listeners out there who might be feeling a little overwhelmed by all of this,
Yeah.
like, where do I even begin? What's
Yeah.
one key takeaway you would give them?
I think the most important thing to remember is that healing is not a destination.
Okay.
It's a journey.
Mhm.
There's no finish line. It's
Yeah.
an ongoing process of self-discovery and growth.
And it's different for everybody.
Totally.
Like, there's no one right way.
Exactly.
Like
What
that.
works for one person might not work for another. And that's okay. The important thing is to be curious, compassionate, patient with yourself, to keep exploring, to keep learning.
And to remember that you have everything you need within you to heal. You have this capacity for wholeness.
He reminds us that we're not broken, we're not flawed, We're just human.
Yeah.
And being human means experiencing a full range of emotions, the good, the bad, and everything in between.
It's all part of it.
Right. And it's in those like messy, complicated human experiences
Yeah.
that we often find our greatest opportunities for growth and transformation.
It's all about embracing the mess.
Totally embrace the mess.
Embrace the journey.
And remember to laugh along the way.
Yes. Love that. Well, this deep dive has given us a lot to think about.
Yeah, it has.
I hope it sparked a little something in you, listener.
And if you're interested in exploring these ideas further, I highly recommend checking out Brent's full talk, How to Heal Emotional Pain.
Yes. And here's a final thought to leave you with. Brent talks about, the ripple effect of healing, how our own individual transformations can contribute to like a bigger collective shift. So as you continue on your own healing journey, think about this. How might your healing be impacting the world around you?
Right. What positive change might you inspire in others?
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah.
Something to ponder. Well, until next time.
Yeah.
Keep diving deep.